They said Shedeur Sanders was finished before he even began, a hype story that would burn out before it ever truly lit the field on fire. To them, he was just a college phenomenon riding his father's shadow, a kid not ready for the unforgiving reality of the NFL. One small injury, they said, would be enough to silence the noise, to expose the flaws, to bury him beneath the weight of veteran experience and skeptical analysts. And then it came. A strained oblique. To an outsider, that's a minor setback, something that heals with rest. But inside the NFL, where every rep counts and every practice determines your place in the hierarchy, it was everything. A strained oblique wasn't just pain in the torso. It was a red flag. It was an excuse for coaches to lean on the veterans, to keep the rookie clipboard in hand and out of sight. It was ammunition for analysts who smirked and said, "See, he's not built for this level." And for weeks, that's exactly how it played out. Shedeur was sidelined. Shedeur was forgotten. A headline yesterday, a whisper today. Just another promising rookie derailed before the story ever began. Cleveland had its plan, its structure, its neat quarterback order. Joe Flacco was the steady hand, the Super Bowl MVP turned mentor who could manage games and keep things stable. Dillon Gabriel was the developmental project, a draft pick with potential for the long term. And Shedeur Sanders, he was the name attached to hype videos, flashy headlines, and preseason debates, nothing more. To the organization, he was insurance. To the media, he was a question mark. To the fans, he was the dream they weren't sure they were allowed to believe in. But then, quietly, without fanfare, without ESPN cameras or dramatic social media posts, something shifted. Shedeur stepped back onto the practice field. No theatrics, no speeches about redemption. Just helmet strapped, pads tight, eyes locked forward. He moved differently, sharper, more focused, as if the weeks of doubt had carved something harder into his resolve. And then it happened. The throw. Just one. A throw so pure, so perfectly timed, so undeniably elite that it shifted the energy of the entire practice field. The ball sliced through the air with laser precision, hitting the receiver in stride 30 yards downfield. Defenders frozen, coaches staring, teammates nodding. It wasn't just a pass. It was a warning shot. It was resurrection. The return of a player the league tried to dismiss before he even had his chance to fight. And in that single moment, the narrative began to unravel. Players felt it instantly. Teammates who had been half-focused during warm-ups suddenly paid attention. A few clapped, others whistled, some muttered under their breath. One receiver turned to another and mouthed the words, "That's the one." Even defenders had to respect it, shaking their heads with that half-smile that says, "There's nothing you can do against that." Respect wasn't given. It was earned in real time on that field. Then the throws stacked up. Sanders didn't just complete passes. He carved the defense apart. A sideline strike that looked impossible, threading the ball between fingertips and chalk. A rollout to the right that ended in a frozen rope bullet across his body, a throw most veterans wouldn't dare attempt. And then the dagger, a red zone touchdown slotted into a window so tight it seemed almost impossible, yet there it was, in the receiver's hands, defenders powerless. It wasn't just accuracy, it was surgical precision. And that's when the silence started. Not the silence of disinterest, but the silence of realization. Everyone watching understood this wasn't normal. This wasn't routine practice. This wasn't a rookie going through drills. This was a player announcing himself to the league. But while teammates buzzed, the coaches stayed still. Kevin Stefanski, arms folded, face unreadable, didn't smile, didn't frown, just stood there in silence. And that silence was louder than cheers, because coaches don't stay quiet when something is ordinary. They stay quiet when something unexpected begins to threaten their carefully laid plans. Stefanski had his structure, his quarterback order, and suddenly a rookie fresh off an injury was ripping a hole straight through it. The media didn't stay quiet. Phones came out, clips hit social media, and within minutes, Shedeur's throw was everywhere. The NFL internet lit up like wildfire. Podcasts replayed the video on loop. Analysts called him deadly precise. Fans labeled him the future. Ryan Clark went further, blasting Stefanski for clinging to Flacco instead of opening the door for Sanders to take over as a legitimate starter. These weren't fringe voices. These were respected analysts changing their tune in real time. Acknowledging what they had just witnessed couldn't be ignored. And the fans, Browns Nation exploded. Timelines filled with demands. Start him now. Stop wasting time. This is the future. Saturday was no longer just another preseason game. For Shedeur Sanders, it was the proving ground, the collision point where hype met reality, where all the whispers and doubts and debates would either solidify into undeniable truth or crumble into not yet. He knew the stakes better than anyone. One sharp performance could flip the entire depth chart upside down, spark a quarterback controversy so loud that even Kevin Stefanski couldn't hide from it. One night under the lights could ignite not just his career, but the future of the Cleveland Browns. But on the other side of that razor's edge sat danger. Because if Shedeur struggled, if his timing looked shaky, if the injury lingered, if he looked overwhelmed by the moment, then Stefanski would have his cover. He'd push Shedeur back down the chart, lean on Flacco as the safe option, and claim he was protecting the rookie. One bad outing wouldn't just slow Shedeur's rise. It could delay it by an entire season, pushing the future further away. That's why the stakes of that Saturday were bigger than anyone wanted to admit. It wasn't just about a game, it was about identity. Was Cleveland going to play it safe again, cling to the veteran, steady the ship for one more forgettable year? Or would they take the leap into the unknown, hand the keys to a rookie who had already shown flashes of brilliance that veterans couldn't replicate? Because once you've seen a throw like Shedeur's in practice, once you've felt the energy it created, it's nearly impossible to turn away. This wasn't just quarterback competition. It was the storm building over Cleveland. The city knew quarterback battles better than any other fan base. They'd lived through countless names, countless promises, countless failures. But this felt different. This felt like the fork in the road that could either doom the franchise to repeat its cycle or finally break it. The players felt it too. Locker room whispers grew louder. Veterans who once leaned on Flacco's steady presence couldn't ignore what they saw from Shedeur in drills. Younger players gravitated toward him, feeding off his calm command, his precise timing, his refusal to look rattled even under pressure. Respect was building, not forced, not demanded, but earned in every snap. And when respect begins to shift in a locker room, coaches notice. Fans noticed too. Social media debates raged late into the night. Radio shows fanned the flames. Start him now became a trending chant across timelines. Clips of his throws went viral again and again, analyzed frame by frame, angles replayed to prove just how special his arm talent was. The city wasn't just intrigued, it was demanding change. But here's the harsh truth. Hype alone doesn't win football games. Saturday night against the Rams wasn't about internet clips. It was about execution under the lights. It was about stepping into the huddle with veterans, looking them in the eye, and making them believe he was the leader who could deliver when it mattered. It was about threading throws against real defenses, feeling real pressure, absorbing real hits. This was the crucible every great quarterback faces, the moment where practice miracles either translate to game dominance or evaporate into just another camp story. The national media circled, ready to pounce. If Shedeur dazzled, headlines would explode with praise, analysts would call for Flacco's benching, and the Browns would be thrust into the most electrifying quarterback controversy of the season. If he stumbled, the same voices would call for patience, say, "I told you so," and relegate him back to the shadows. The duality of football is brutal. One night can crown you, or one night can bury you. And Shedeur Sanders was walking that knife's edge. But this is where his story is different. Because unlike so many rookies before him, Shedeur came into the league carrying more than just his own weight. He carried the name Sanders, the legacy of his father, the shadow of Deion prime time himself. Expectations weren't just high, they were astronomical. People weren't just watching Shedeur. They were watching the son of a legend, waiting to either embrace him as the heir to greatness or dismiss him as a hype creation. That's why every moment mattered more. That's why every throw carried the weight of history. That's why the silence after his practice performance felt so heavy. Because deep down, everyone realized what they had seen wasn't routine. It was the beginning of something they might not be able to stop, even if they wanted to. Cleveland stood at a crossroads, and Shedeur Sanders was forcing the choice sooner than anyone expected. Play it safe with Flacco, risk wasting a spark that could ignite the franchise, or unleash Shedeur, gamble on the future, and accept the turbulence that comes with it. It wasn't just about winning games in 2025. It was about shaping the Browns' destiny for years to come. And if the organization hesitated, if they